What happens when you age a wine? And how does an older wine differ from a younger wine?
You can really taste the difference.
In this episode of Our Poor Decisions, we're diving into a subject that seems to divide the world of wine nerds more than anything: aging. We'll take a look at 3 different vintages of one of the world's greatest red wines.
Is the best bottle that we've had on this show so far.
Haut-Brion, 2019, 2005, and 1990, and compare the wines to each other and discuss what causes the wines to change so much over time.
This seems pretty nerdy to me.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. And secondly, I think this is what wine collecting is all about.
I guess you did build this wine room for a reason.
B, I'm telling you, when you have a great wine at the perfect age, it's like heaven in a glass.
But not all wine is made for aging, right?
No, not at all. I'd say, in fact, 98% of all wine is designed to be consumed right away. But when you get those very great wines, and I'm talking about the top wines around the world, they can age 20, 30, maybe 50 years.
Wow. And so what makes a wine worthy of aging? And let me guess, you have some information for our viewers about it?
Maybe.
Wine collectors who store and age wine do so primarily for 2 reasons. First reason is to soften the tannins. The tannins in wines are that most people experience as dryness or astringency, which are more tactile sensations in the mouth than flavors.
It is so much softer. I think the tannin and the acidity, they have mellowed each other out a little bit.
And the second reason for aging is that some wines develop tertiary flavors that only occur in older wines.
This one's stinky, I think.
And examples of these flavors include leather, truffle, cedar, tobacco, and earth. These are different than secondary flavors that winemakers can achieve during winemaking process, such as vanilla, toast, and oak.
How do you feel about me putting these in the cellar to age for a couple years?
B, you are so funny.
Obviously, I'm just giving you a hard time, but on a serious note, I'm really excited for this experiment today.
I'm so glad to hear that, because Haut-Brion is probably one of the greatest wines in the world, and this is going to be a really unique experiment.
Haut-Brion is one of the most famous chateaux in Bordeaux, and one of the original 4 chateaux considered first growth in the 1855 classification. Haut-Brion is the only red wine outside of Medoc included in that classification. And it was so famous and well known that the Syndicate of Courtiers just couldn't exclude it from the list that Napoleon III had requested, and the chateau was rightfully listed among the best of the best, the Premier Grand Cru. Today, Haut-Brion and his sister property La Mission Haut-Brion are completely surrounded by the suburbs of the city of Bordeaux, as you can see from this Google Maps satellite photo. For a reference point, the Haut-Brion property is about 51 hectares, or about 219 acres. 48 hectares are planted with red grapes, 45% Merlot, 44% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Cabernet Franc, and 1% Petit Verdot. And the other 3 hectares are planted with mostly Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, with a tiny bit of Sauvignon Gris.
So Haut-Brion is actually located right in the middle of the city of Bordeaux.
Yeah, it's really unusual. And you know what else is really unusual about the history of Haut-Brion?
What?
So, remember when we talked about Margaux being purchased by a Greek tycoon in the 70s?
Yeah.
Well, Clarence Dillon, an American investment banker, purchased Haut-Brion in 1935 at the height of the Depression and really turned it all around. And his company, Domaine Clarence Dillon, which is what it's called today, purchased La Mission Haut-Brion and a number of other properties in 1983, and he continues to run it today.
Is that the same Clarence Dillon who ran the investment bank Dillon Reed and Company, and then he purchased Dodge in 1925 and then merged it with Chrysler 2 years later, making Chrysler one of the big 3 in Detroit?
You know about him?
I'm just messing with you. I read your notes. Anyways, let's take a closer look at the 3 bottles we're trying today.
Not only are we trying arguably one of the greatest red wines in the world, we're specifically looking at the effects of aging wine. Let's start with the 2019 vintage, which was, by all accounts, a very good vintage for Haut-Brion and Bordeaux in general. The Robert Parker's Wine Advocate gave the wine 98 points, calling it full-bodied, rich, and fleshy. The 2005 Haut-Brion is considered by many to be one of the best wines of the Great Bordeaux vintage. It received 100 points by multiple wine critics, including Robert Parker. Last but certainly not least, we're trying the 1990 vintage of Haut-Brion. After more than 30 years of aging, how will this wine come across compared to the other two? There is no doubt the 1990 Haut-Brion is considered one of the great vintages.
Doesn't opening up a 2019 Haut-Brion basically go against all of your principles?
Absolutely.
So why are we doing it again?
Well, it's all about the experiment. We're going to take a look at what happens when wine ages.
And what are your expectations for the 2019 vintage?
B, I'm a little concerned that the wine may not even be drinkable at this point.
Something we like to do at our show is to give our wines a little bit of time to open up in the decanter. In this case, we'll let the wines breathe for about an hour and a half before we try them. We also leave the decanters out in room temperature for maybe 15 minutes before drinking the wine, just to bring the temperature up 5 to 7 degrees.
Welcome back, Stacey. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Stacey, I got to tell you, I love this experiment.
It's kind of exciting.
Not only do we have 3 bottles of arguably one of the greatest wines in the world, but we get to see what happens over basically 30 years of aging.
I'm excited to see what the hype is all about aging.
Okay.
We're going to bring her down our little nerd tunnel together.
All
It'll be
right.
fine.
Yeah, this will be good. What makes great wine age well?
The big ones you talk about are acidity. RS, or residual sugar, helps a wine age. Both of those are really great. And tannins. So any of those 3 things in a bottle of wine is going to help a wine age well.
All right, so let's start with the color of these wines, because right off the bat, I'm noticing that the 90 has got more orange tones, and the 19, it's really pretty pink.
So one of the things that happens when wine ages is all of the things that make color bind together with tannins, with the flavor molecules, and they kind of fall out of suspension. So as the wine ages, we're definitely seeing that progression.
So we have the 19 almost like as a starting point. Is it even drinkable at this point?
I do think that it is not going to be a great representation of what this wine is like and its like peak.
And I agree with that.
All right, well, let's just dive in and see if we can drink the 19 or not. I'm thinking I'm not going to have a problem with it, but...
I don't think I'm going to complain, but I think my enjoyment's going to get better as we move to the right.
Give it a sniff.
It's got a great nose. I mean, this is like, it's got tons of flavor in here. A lot of primary fruit. It's certainly, you can almost smell the acidity. Is that even a thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So for me, that's why tart cranberry is the smell.
I love vodka cranberry, so...
Hey, no complaints.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's try this.
It's a little sour, right?
I think that's that acidity, yeah.
I gotta tell you, this is a lot better than what I thought.
It's still a great wine. And it also is a huge portion of Merlot, which is so drinkable early. And it's so pretty and approachable up front with riper fruits and plummy kind of notes, floral things.
You can't age a wine that's not balanced from the beginning. And
sure.
I think this wine is just terrific, and it's got great balance right now.
100%.
I learned something today that I didn't expect to learn. This tastes great. Next up,
Let's do
2005. Now, we've had a lot of 2005s, and
We've been very lucky to taste that vintage. It's a great year.
the nose is very different.
That, I think, is the biggest show that the ages happened for these two. The
do you
nose
think,
on the
Bea?
05 is very different.
I think let's try it.
Okay, well, let's give it a shot. Okay,
All right.
here we go.
You can really taste the difference.
It is so much softer. I think the tannin and the acidity, they have mellowed each other out a little bit. He's still tasting.
This is so good.
It is so good.
Now,
Oh, wow.
but there's also a lot less fruit.
There is a lot less fruit. So fruit is one of the first things that drops out. It transforms. That's how we get some of those tertiary aromas instead of primary aromas.
Let's try it.
Is it time?
I think it might be.
These two, the 19 and the 05s are different. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yes.
But this is completely different.
Completely different.
This one's stinky, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's stinky.
Those are your
all right.
tertiary aromas, yes. Right? Like mushroomy, truffly, forest flory, kind of like rotting. Well, maybe not rotting isn't a pleasant
Well, I
aroma.
think
It's
there's
not-
a-
but
there is some of
yeah,
that.
not the most pleasant to sound, but like forest floor, or like that. You know, you're in the forest and you turn over the first level of dirt. You move the leaves, and there's that like real rustic, warm earth kind of smell.
All right, let's try the 1990.
I am so excited about this.
This one probably
Cheers.
deserves cheers. Wow.
So B, remember when I said have it in a glass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great wine at the perfect age. And I know that Haut-Brion is kind of like the 89 is the year for Haut-Brion, right?
89 was
And so
the
90
year.
came afterward. It's kind of hard to follow up.
So how come you didn't get our viewers the 89 bottle?
I don't have any in my cellar, but I'm working on that. I'm going to go out on the limb here. We've had a lot of great wines, right? On this show, we've tried Screaming Eagle, we've tried Margaux, we've tried Lafite, we've tried Mouton. The 1990 Haut-Brion is the best bottle that we've had on this show so far. Should I just start drinking beer for 15 years and let everything age? Or how do you think about this?
Don't go crazy.
So, in conclusion, I feel like this experiment has honestly taught me a lot. I wasn't really sure if I understood the hype about aging, but after trying these 3 wines, gradually increasing with age, I can definitely say that I understand the hype of aging.
Perfect. It's been fun to taste them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the 19 was shocking to me, but the 1990, oh my gosh, I feel so lucky to drink a bottle of wine like that. It's just,
Yeah.
it's stunning. What was your favorite, and what did you take away from it?
Well, I can appreciate each bottle for what it is. I think that the 90, it was most interesting for me to try.
I love that. I mean, the 90 blows me away. It's just stellar. I don't know that I've legitimately tasted a better wine.
Yeah, 90 is just that good, guys. So cheers. Jeff, are you going to come in here and cheers with us? And I assume the 90 is the favorite?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching.